Hello, happy Friday. We are going live this morning with Sara McCormick, who is the astrologer behind Bella DeLuna. She's also on the podcast this week. So we'll give her a second to hop on and join. How is everybody doing on this Friday? Just gonna, please don't fall. Let's see. So on the podcast, Sara joins me this week. We're talking all about lessons in really using astrology to frame our soul care practices. And so Sara and I thought it would be amazing to do a live together on Friday, today, to really dive into the 12 zodiac signs and how we can use the moon to guide our self-care. So Sara just joined. Okay, I'm going to add you, Sara. Let's get this party started. Good morning. Did it work, Sara? There you are.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Sometimes I'm like, please, is it going to work?
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
like pressing the button. Oh my God. I'm excited to sit down with you for this because, our conversation this week really left a really wonderful impression on me on using astrology, the moon, to really guide our self-care practices. But something you said in the podcast about it being soul care
hmm
was so good. So before we even go, because I've already gone down the highway, let's pull back a second. Can you tell everybody who's on now or who will join later who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into this piece about soul care and then our topic for today.
Yeah, so I am Sara McCormick, and I am the astrologer and writer behind Bella DeLuna. And my mission with Bella DeLuna is to really cultivate practical tools to help people develop a deeper relationship with themselves and their self-care. Because I think it's a way of like reclaiming our power, like developing that relationship with ourselves. And it's so transformative and just kind of has this ripple effect across all of our lives and all the people we meet in our lives. And so I think it's really important.
I know in our conversation together, you said something in addition to all the things I've already said that you said that were so profound, but this piece too about how self-care really opens up the doorway to getting to know yourself. And I thought when you said that during our conversation in the episode, I told you at the time I had never really heard anybody describe self-care in that way because we have a way of thinking about self-care in society that I don't necessarily agree with. But I just love what you said, that it's about opening this doorway to a relationship with yourself. And then from that space of developing that relationship with you, it ripples into every aspect of your life.
Yes, once you have that deeper understanding of who you are and what you need, what you love, how you think, how you communicate, how you respond to things like anger or jealousy. Once you kind of have that landscape and kind of know that, you just are more centered, you're more grounded, you're less reactive, and then that kind of impacts everyone that you come across with.
Yeah, I think it encapsulates every emotion, not just the ones that we enjoy experiencing, right? Like also the ones that can sometimes feel more difficult. And we talk about that in this week's episode too, especially in the context of grief and how when we're on a grief journey, because that's what I think it is, it's a journey. It has highs and lows. You're often asked to really ride the waves of your grief too. Self-care feels like the last thing on the planet you want to do. Like you sometimes are just trying to tread above water. And then you're telling me I got to take care of myself too. Like it's too much. It's too much. And I think what you shared, and for anybody that's tuning into our live right now or will watch later, definitely listen to our new episode this week with Sara, because what you share about your personal journey with grief and how you then turn to a decades-long practice of using the moon to guide your self-care, I thought was really, really fascinating.
Yeah, so any big emotion, but grief especially, can seem so overwhelming and daunting, and we feel like we're just going to get lost in it. And having a practice to fall back on, to kind of ground you and connect you back with yourself is it's vital for finding that sense of safety and sense of peace while also navigating, like you said, the highs and the lows of the grief, because it definitely is a journey where some days, are better than others.
Yeah. So turning to how you have now used astrology to guide not only your grief journey, but your self-care journey and these practices you put into place. And I know I keep talking about our episode together, but in our episode, you said that the moon is like the perfect entryway for someone into astrology and then also using it for self-care. I'd love it if you could share with us why and how we can really use the moon in this way. And then I know we'll dive into the 12 zodiac signs. So let's start with
Yes.
why the moon.
So my personal opinion is the moon is like the perfect entryway because it's something we can all see. It has that
Mm,
tangible aspect of we can look up in the sky, usually at night, sometimes during the day, and we can see the moon. It makes it more real for us, being able to, have like an astrology app or, book or something that's like, okay, the moon is this phase today. And then you can look up in the sky and see it. That makes
mm.
it real. Where other parts of astrology may seem so intangible, like Jupiter is doing this, and you're like, but I can't see
But I
Jupiter.
can't see it. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
where it is. Is it really doing all
like
those things?
exactly. So the moon you can see, so that just it helps us be like, okay, there's something I can see. I can see this actually happening.
Mm,
And then, going deeper in astrology, the moon represents our emotions. It represents how we feel, um, how we respond and kind of interact with feelings and what we do with those feelings when they come up. And it's also kind of points to where we might find emotional security, emotional safety, emotional nourishment. Because the
mhm,
moon, if you look at the moon in your birth chart, that represents your emotions.
mm. I love what you said because I don't know how often we talk about the what sign of ours is in the moon. We talk about our sun sign, we talk about our rising sign, but we don't often talk about the moon. And I love that it really does encapsulate your emotions, your
Mm-hmm.
emotional state. And so you can look at your sign in the moon. I think mine is in Taurus. So no wonder I love being at home and like
Yes.
being grounded in this sense. So could we talk about the 12 zodiac signs? I
Yeah.
know you're going to share a tip for each one, and I might have spoiled it a little bit this week when I shared that beautiful graphic from your page on my page yesterday. But I would love to dive into the 12 zodiac signs. And anyone that's listening right now, if you know what sign your moon is in, drop it in the chat, and we'll make sure we cover that too. But Sarah, I'll let you take it away. Whatever
Yeah.
you want to start with.
Okay. So the first thing I want to start with is there's a lot of ways you can listen to what I'm saying and approach it.
Mm,
Um, One, if you know the moon sign, the moon, if you know the sign your moon, your natal moon is in, you definitely can listen for that. You can also look at this in terms of where the moon is each day, because we all kind of collectively feel that to some degree, because you can think of the
yeah.
moon as like a mirror and it's just kind of reflecting emotions kind of on a collective global scale back to us. And the other fun thing is, let's say you're like, I am not into astrology. I don't want to know astrology. You can listen to how I'm describing the energy when I'm talking about the moon and Taurus energy and how I describe it. And you can be like, I don't want really care about astrology, but I recognize what she's describing. I recognize that feeling, that energy she's describing. And then when I give you a tip of how to use that energy, that's a great self-care tip to add to your toolbox to use whenever you find yourself in that situation where that's coming up for you and you're not quite sure how to deal with it.
Mm. I just
So,
want to take a moment to acknowledge what you just said because there are different ways we can look at what you're about to share. And I think that's so important. We also don't often talk about the fact that the moon changes signs like every 2 to 3 days, right?
right.
So you can constantly be checking in with where the moon is at to help guide your self care, your soul care practices. And even if it doesn't resonate with you, paying attention to the energy or you're talking about, let's say, taking a walk. Ooh, that sounds really good to me. Or journaling. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Like taking what feels good and leaving the rest, I think, is a really important practice, no matter what we're talking about in life. So I'm
Right.
really glad you said that. Really, really glad. Okay,
Okay. So
I'm done. You go.
if you're cool, we can, do you just want to just dive right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to start with Aries. And Aries is the beginning of the zodiac, and it is a fire sign. And so Aries energy is impatient and likes to just start things. It just wants to get going. And so whether we're talking about your natal moon being in Aries or the moon right now being in Aries, I think today it's actually in Gemini, but you might feel you have too much energy. You might almost feel overwhelmed by the need to just get moving and get going. And so for Aries, it's really about channeling that energy. And that a lot of times that means like physically moving your body to kind of release that excess energy so you're not holding on to it, so it's not turning into tension. And also like taking a risk. Aries energy loves to take a risk, try something new, kind of leap before you look a little bit. And so that's really a fun way to use that energy, where you can kind of use what may feel like overwhelming excess energy to be like, you can kind of channel it and be like, I'm gonna use this energy to kind of bolster my courage, bolster my bravery, so I can take this risk today. That's something I've been wanting to do that I'm a little nervous about doing. So it's really fun to like start looking at, you can see where it's just fun to look at the moon signs and how we can shift with the energy and use it in this way.
All right, so for Aries, it's all about moving your body.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the fun thing about, as you go through, if you're looking at the daily moon, how they balance each other out, because then after Aries, we get to Taurus. And Taurus wants everyone to slow down. Very opposite of Aries, right? And Taurus is all about using the five senses, touch, taste, smell, sight, sound. Always have to like remember it's hard when you're trying to actually go through them all.
I think you got them. Sight,
okay, good.
Taste, touch, hearing. What's the last one? Somebody tell me in the chat. I don't know. All right, we'll go with it. We'll add it later.
So Taurus wants you to kind of like indulge in those senses to, really it's about grounding into your body through the five senses. So eating a good meal, taking a walk in nature, like if you have a candle or something that has a scent that you really love, like Taurus would love nothing more than to curl up and take a nap with that candle lit or something. It's all about slowing down. And also Taurus, interestingly, is the energy of Taurus is associated with finances. And so when the moon is in Taurus, it's actually a good time to kind of look at your finances or make a budget or make like a long-term plan for your spending.
A part of self-care we often don't like to talk about.
Exactly. But it definitely is, because, anything that is like on our mind that's kind of stressing our mind out, that we're kind of ruminating or worrying about, dealing with that thing is actually self-care. So it's like, making that dentist appointment or, paying that bill or, anything that you're like, I don't want to do that.
Anything we've been procrastinating, basically.
Exactly.
I think that's such an important part of self-care, is really touching on all the parts or the elements of the things that we are avoiding or don't want to do, because that's often what we need in that moment. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. I made a dentist appointment 2 weeks ago, and I went, and I had put it off for a really long time, mostly because of COVID. And then after, I was like, oh, I'm really glad I like crossed this off my list.
Yeah, next. You just feel so much relief when you're like, oh, okay. Yeah.
So what comes after Taurus?
So after Taurus, we move into Gemini, which is an air sign. So it's all about how you communicate and how you think. And Gemini energy is really great for multitasking. which is great if you have a lot of things you need to get done. But on the downside, it can mean your mind is kind of like running like a mile an hour and you can't stop. It's where your thoughts just keep going and going and going, and you have a hard time quieting your mind. And so meditation is really good for when the moon is in Gemini, or if you have a natal Gemini moon. And also singing. Singing is really helpful with Gemini because Gemini loves to take a bunch of information in and then kind of disperse it, usually with talking. But singing is another way to do that helps kind of battle that information overload you can get with that Gemini multitasking energy where it's a little restless. And so singing is a way to challenge your mind, to occupy your mind, to kind of get your mind to focus on something that isn't necessarily going to give your mind more information or more data to like need to process or work with.
That's so interesting. Okay.
And then after Gemini, we have Cancer. And so Cancer is the first water sign of the zodiac. And water signs are all about feelings and sensitivity and intuition. And Cancer itself is all about the home and family. And so when the moon is in Cancer, you might feel like sticking close to home. You might feel like kind of feathering your nest, so to speak, where you want your home to feel cozy. You want your space to feel safe and inviting. That's a big theme for a Cancer moon, is looking at what helps you feel safe, what helps you feel secure. And so you really want to nurture yourself. When the moon is in Cancer, you may feel more sensitive. I like talking about how, if you look at the archetypes of the zodiac signs, like Cancer's the crab, right? And the crab has a hard shell. And you think when it's scared, it retreats into the shell. And so, but inside the shell, it's very soft and squishy. And that's very much Cancer energy, where it just wants to feel safe, it wants to feel protected, and it likes to stay close to home. The crab takes its home with it, its shell with it. And so, Cancer is all about home, family, safety, security, and what you can do to kind of relax in your home. What helps you let your worries go while you're in your home, while you're in, your safe place.
I feel like then when the moon is in Cancer, it's probably a really good time to organize your space and, really clean it and make it feel even more homey, is what it sounds like to me too.
Definitely.
All right, so what comes after Cancer?
After Cancer, we go into Leo. And again, I like using the archetype here, so I'm going to bring it up where the Leo is the lion. And you think about a lion, and a lion lives in a pride, which it's no surprise that pride is one of the kind of characteristics we associate with Leo and a Leo moon, where also Leo moon, it's a fire sign. And so where Aries channels that fire energy into action, Leo channels that fire energy into creativity. And so with the Leo moon, we may feel a lot more action around our creativity or expressing our creativity, where we want to play more. I don't know if it's hard to think about a lion playing, but they do.
When you see okay, I'm going to the Lion King in my mind for a moment here, when they're kind of roughhousing with each other, that's play is what I'm imagining. It's kind of like being playful with one another. And I totally get what you're saying. I love how I just brought in the Lion King, but when you say that's where my mind goes immediately.
Yeah, and you can also, if you have a pet cat and you need to downgrade from a lion image to your cat, it's kind of the same thing.
All in the same family.
Yes, where that energy, it's very playful, it's very creative, but there's also that pride aspect,
Mm-hmm.
and loyalty. That's the other side of the pride, is Leo energy is very loyal. And so with the
Mm.
moon in Leo, it's a good time to get creative, to let yourself play and experiment, maybe create something new. Also, kind of throwing it back to Aries, where I mentioned all the movement. This kind of applies here too with movement in Leo, but movement in Leo, it's more like dancing. It's more creative movement.
Mm.
So, having like a dance party would be right up Leo moon alley, in my opinion.
I love that. I love that. And then so what comes after Leo? I think it's Virgo, right?
Yep, it's Virgo, which is my moon sign.
Hmm.
And so Virgo energy is very discerning. It's all about like analytical and seeing the data and seeing how it all works together. And also stereotypically we talk about Virgo energy being like, oh, it's very organized and you need to clean things and everything needs to be put in its place. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also a broader kind of reason for all of that. And that's because like Virgo energy is very analytical in terms of looking at things from a holistic viewpoint, like seeing
Mm,
the
that's
whole
interesting.
the whole picture and kind of seeing what's not working in the entire picture and knowing, oh, if I just fix this one thing or this, tweaked this thing over here, everything would work together more beautifully. It'd be more in harmony. And so with Virgo, of course, yes, I'm going to say things like cleaning and organizing are very good for a Virgo moon,
Mm-hmm.
but also just things like working with your body, working with herbs, kind of being like, is my body like in alignment with, like, do I need to like adjust my routine, or like what
Mm.
does my, like, looking at what your body needs, because again it's like looking at the whole picture and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what needs to be tweaked. And so
Mm.
with a Virgo moon, it's a good time to see like what needs you have that you may haven't been meeting. Like you need to drink more water, or eat more of a certain food, or move your body more. That's a good time to kind of evaluate that, because that
Mm.
discerning analytical Virgo eye can really help you see where you're not in alignment with like meeting all of your needs.
Mm. So it's about being analytical in the space around you, but also the space within you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Okay, what's next?
Next, we have Libra. And so Libra, the symbol for Libra is the scales. And
Mm-hmm.
so Libra is all about balance and also justice. And stereotypically, Libra moon is a good time to sign a contract because it has that justice legal aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also about beauty. Libra wants things to be balanced in terms of, it wants everything to be in harmony, and that kind of ripples out to everything being beautiful. That's why, Libra is kind of considered the peacemaker. It wants everyone to get along. And so
Mm.
when the moon is in Libra, it's a really good time to tend to your boundaries. So saying no when you mean no, like not saying yes when you're like, I really don't want to do this. Like
Mm-hmm.
really like tending to your boundaries and speaking up for yourself in that way. And it's also just a good time to look at your space and be like, how can I add more beauty to my space? Like what would make my space feel balanced to me? And that's
Mm-hmm.
different for all of us because we all have different ways of interpreting what's beautiful and like how things are imbalanced. So maybe for you, that means you want a clean kitchen, or you need more like color in your living room, or there's a lot of different ways you can really explore that and feel
Mm.
what resonates with you.
Mm-hmm. Beautifying your space can mean literally bringing in beauty, something that's beautiful, colorful, adding flowers maybe, but also beauty can be what you said about boundaries and creating those boundaries for yourself that are super firm and aligned with you is a way of bringing in beauty. I think it's a really wonderful way to think about it.
Yeah, it's like, um, for me, like I have to have a clean kitchen at night before I go to bed. My kitchen needs to
Mm-hmm.
be clean. And that's like, to me, very Libra in terms of it's like a boundary I have that to me keeps it may not be everyone's sense of beauty, but I have a lot of Virgo in my chart, so things being
It
put in
all
their
makes sense.
place is part of what I see as beautiful. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, it's really fun to explore this and kind of see how it resonates with you.
Hmm. So what about for Scorpio? I know Scorpio is next.
Yeah. So Scorpio energy is very passionate. It's also a water sign, which tends to throw people off sometimes. So that means it feels things very deeply. It's a
Mm.
sensitive sign. And with Scorpio moon, this is a really good time to like really express how you feel, really express your passions. Journaling is really good for this, for working with the emotions and kind of getting them like out on paper so they're not sitting in you and kind of like, getting stuck or stagnant. Also, listening to music. Listening to music is a great way to either get more comfortable with how you're feeling if you want to like listen to music that kind of reflects how you're feeling, or even if you're like, I feel like I'm getting stuck, I feel like I need to move this energy, you can listen to music that's like, let's say you're sad, you can listen to upbeat music that will help move that energy and shift that energy.
I love that. Listening to music. Okay. Not what I expected from Scorpio, but I like it. I like it. All right. I think Sagittarius is next, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sagittarius is definitely kind of adventurous energy where you just want to kind of broaden your horizons, and that can mean like literal travel. That can also mean like your horizons in terms of your mind. So like
Hmm.
learning something new, um, doing any kind of teaching or writing. And so when the moon is in Sagittarius, we might feel restless. We might feel like we need to be um, like adventuring, so to speak. Like
Hmm.
we feel like we need to be on a journey. And so like getting outside can be really helpful because then you're physically, moving and feeling like you're going somewhere.
I mean,
And
after
also,
last year, leaving my house feels like an adventure, so I like
exactly.
it.
Yeah, and also learning something new can sometimes kind of help cope with that energy of feeling like there needs to be more. I need to, see more. I need to do more. So finding something that you're really curious about that kind of sparks that
Mm-hmm.
curiosity where can just sign up for a class or, yeah, and now so many classes are online. This makes it so much
Hmm.
easier to
I
do.
love it. Yeah. Yeah. The accessibility of everything has changed so much. Oh, okay. So Capricorn, I know, is often referred to as like they're like very intense, supposedly, like they're goal setting, very achievement driven. So do their self-care practices have anything to do with that?
Yes. So the way I view Capricorn energy is, Capricorn energy can get really intensely focused on like work and achievement and like long-term goals and visions. And ambitious is a word that comes up quite often when you're talking about Capricorn energy.
Yeah.
And so to kind of like balance that out, to kind of not tone it down, but make it so you're not caught up in that energy, you're not stuck in it. It's good to my biggest thing that I tell anyone who, especially if they have a Capricorn moon, is to step away from your work, to take a break, um, where you just need that little bit of space. And this kind
Hmm.
of leads into another thing I say with Capricorn, especially, is you need that space so you can remember your why. You can remember why you're doing this, why you have that long-term goal, why you are so passionate about like having these achievements that you really like determined to go after. Because,
Hmm.
Capricorn a lot of times gets kind of condensed to the archetype of the goat. Like you see the mountain goat climbing
Hmm.
up the mountain. But if you really go back and look at the image, the real symbol of Capricorn, it's a sea goat. It's the top half is the goat and the bottom half is like the mermaid tail kind of thing, or the fish tail, depending how you want to look at it.
I don't think I've
And to
ever seen
me,
that.
Really? You
Okay,
should
I
Google
gotta
it.
Google it after.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Google Capricorn symbol. It's actually a sea goat. It gets a lot of times it gets
Wow.
yeah, like watered down to just the goat, but it's really a
Yeah.
sea goat.
Okay.
And so to me, that kind of emphasizes the part of Capricorn that's not talked a lot about, which is
Mm-hmm.
they're very deeply spiritual.
Mm.
They have a deep passion, a deep truth that they know that that's their life's mission, and that manifests into this ambition. And so for self-care, when it comes to either a natal Capricorn moon or the moon being in Capricorn, it's about balancing that ambition with that deeply spiritual truth. That's your
Mm-hmm.
motivation of why you have that ambition. Because we all
Mm.
have reasons of why we have these goals. We don't just
Right.
have goals just for the sake of having goals usually.
Yeah.
There's a reason behind it. And so getting in touch with that reason is really important for Capricorn.
So I know we're coming close to the end of our time together here, and I want to make sure we get to the last two. So for Aquarius and Pisces,
Yeah.
let's start with Aquarius.
Yes, so Aquarius, it's a water sign all about community and networking and innovating for the global good. So contributing to a cause, whether you're volunteering or donating financially if you're able to, and then connecting with others. And usually, it's connecting with others where you're working together, you're coming together, combining your talents to
Mm.
like innovate or somehow improve something is really like key for Aquarius.
Yeah.
And then Pisces is a water sign. So it's all about sensitivity and feelings. And Pisces, particularly, is all about dreams. And so getting
Mm.
in touch with your dreams, letting yourself dream. Pisces is also about rest. So letting yourself rest. So that can be as simple as taking a nap or going to bed early. Um, and then Pisces is also really creative. And so when the moon's in Pisces, or it's a really good time to just, play with art or just let yourself get creative and
Mm.
yeah, just let like the inspiration flow. That's definitely Pisces, is letting things flow.
Mm. Thank you for sharing all this. I feel like we just got a master class in astrology and the moon. So this was wonderful. I can't thank you enough. I'm just scrolling quickly through the comments. Hi to everybody that said hello. Thank you guys all for being here. Um, oh my gosh, this is great. We had a Leo moon, we had a Taurus moon on, we had an Aries moon. Thank you guys so much for being here. Sarah, thank you for doing this. This was a really wonderful way, I think, to
Yeah.
talk like on a Friday about self-care and how we can really tie in the moon, and especially with our new episode this week, which really ties in using astrology to really frame our soulful self-care practices. So for anyone that's tuning in, if you haven't already listened to our episode, just search Seek the Joy wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Make sure to listen to it. It's so good. And Sarah drops so much wisdom in it. I'm so grateful. Sarah, I know we're on Instagram, so everyone can just click on your Bella DeLuna astrology handle and follow you. But where else can they find you on the interwebs so they can check you out and follow along?
So I'm on Facebook. It's also Bella DeLuna Astrology. And then my website is belladeluna.com.
Perfect. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday for our latest episode in Seek the Joy Live. Sarah, thank you so much. This was wonderful. Any last comments? Anybody that's tuning in, put them in the chat now, or if you're listening later, type it in the comments and we'll see you there. Thank you. And everybody have a great weekend. Bye, Sarah. Thank you.
Bye.